11:48, TSN 690. Welcome back to Game Points. I'm your host, Matthew Ross. We're here till 1 o'clock. Up next, we'll talk some tennis with Lyra Papin, or Lyra Papine, as Mo Khan likes to call her, from TennisConnected.com. Mo Khan in studio, Sean Coleman on the board, and Stefano Michello helping us out as well. We're monitoring the situation in Glendale. City Council is continuing to deliberate. We've seen some voting. Stefano, what's the latest over there?
Well, we've seen some comments, and basically it's been about one person saying they're in favor of getting rid of the Coyotes, a couple in favor of keeping the Coyotes. No official votes yet, just council members giving their opinions. Just posturing, as pundits would say.
Well, your next guest, Dave Pagnotta, had some phenomenal quotes, though, about some councilmen not too happy about putting leisure sports ahead of the fate of Glendale.
All right, well, let's bring him in. He's the editor-in-chief of thefourthperiod.com, as well as the magazine. You can follow him on Twitter.com/thefourthperiod. We have been here, last couple of days anyway, between free agency and also the Coyotes. Welcome in, Dave Pagnotta. Hey, Dave.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm trying to stay awake throughout this absolutely riveting council meeting that we're watching here.
You know, our guy here in studio, Stefano, was telling us that, you look at the screen, it almost looks like it's from the 80s. Like, it looks kind of outdated, and I don't know, like they're going to order tab during the intermission or something. I don't know.
I don't even. I think I've aged dramatically just trying to listen to these people speak.
How about Bettman, huh? When he got up there, he looked so annoyed. He was leaning. First of all, they had to lower the microphone about 6 feet. But then, he's leaning on the podium. He has nothing prepared. He's talking about people's jobs that are going to be lost. Never mind that he just, ripped a franchise out of Atlanta and took the franchise out of Winnipeg to bring it to Phoenix. But anyway.
Oh, that was great. I loved it. He walked in there. I thought he was going to pick up the mic and just, throw it at the council after.
Drop it. Boom. I'm done.
Yeah, you know what? I really don't care. What?
Yeah. Oh, gosh. So it's leaning towards being approved. Is that what we're seeing?
It sounds like it's going to be approved. One of the council members who first was all over the Coyotes and then turned around a few minutes ago and said that she's not blaming the Coyotes for the city's financial troubles. She's blaming the council itself.
Did she give anyone the stink eye? Just turn to someone and go I'm not blaming the Coyotes, and then kind of point,
Mayor Kenny Rogers. First of all, if you have a chance, I tweeted a picture of the mayor of Glendale.
Yeah.
The dude looks just like Kenny Rogers.
Come on.
Awesome.
His name is Kenny Rogers.
It's not Kenny Rogers.
I thought his name was Kenny Rogers. All right.
No, he looks just like Kenny Rogers.
Okay.
But anyway, it looks like it's going to be approved. But right before I came on, another council member said that, hold on, I still have a bunch of questions to ask. And another council member said, so do I. So it sounds like it's going to pass. Councilwoman Alvarez said that she believes it's going to pass. She says she knows it's going to pass. But it's still interesting because the league doesn't want that opt-out clause in there, or they want it, and it's still a big mess. And the other thing too is one of the the same councilwoman asked, "You guys want $15 million a year in the arena management fee? Well, where are we getting that from? Because we can only give you $6." So it's weird. The whole process is just weird. And then they turn around and say, "We don't have money. We're closing recreational facilities. We're closing pools. We can't. We fired police officers. We can't afford to hire new ones." I don't even know if this makes any sense for the city itself, but...
if you're a criminal, you might want to move to Glendale, Arizona, it seems like.
Oh, you just fired 33 police officers.
Yeah.
You now have 4, and they're on horseback.
Well, earlier here, Mo Khan was talking about how in his younger days he was a criminal, he says. So, Mo, you have some key insight into the criminal mind. Would you move to Glendale, Arizona?
Well, when you have Chief Wiggum running Glendale, Arizona, I don't think it'd be much of an issue, though. But Dave, the question that will come up, though, is that for the long-term growth of the sport of hockey in Arizona, aren't they going to lose money year in and year out, given that you play in the stakes of Phoenix? And then on top of that, you're going head-to-head with the Suns, D-backs, and the Cardinals who are next door to the arena?
and no. I think that the biggest problem with the organization is the fact that they're in Glendale. That's the biggest problem right now. You ask any of the players, any of the guys on the team, management figures, even people on the Board of Governors in the National Hockey League and other main guys, the biggest problem is where they're currently located. Not the fact that they're in a suburb of Phoenix or they're in the state of Arizona and they've got the other sports to compete with. It's the fact that they're in Glendale. That's a big problem. And I don't know how that gets rectified tomorrow, 4 years from now, 10 years from now. I don't know. I mean, other than just keep winning and keep putting a competitive product on the ice, so you build that awareness like other markets did, like Carolina did, and now they've got a strong base. Nashville's got a solid base, et cetera, Tampa, and so on. But I've never spoken to any player who says that where they're playing right now is a great spot to be.
All right, Dave, let's move over to some of the other news of the day. Obviously, Vincent Lecavalier signing with the Philadelphia Flyers. You and I were corresponding earlier in the day on this. How did this thing go down, and were the Canadians serious players?
They were. I've been told it came down to 4 teams. Montreal was one of them. It was Montreal, Boston, Philadelphia, and Dallas. And then, a couple offers were thrown back and forth. And at the end of the day, Vinny Lecavalier decided to go with the Philadelphia Flyers. And I believe it wasn't the most, the largest financial deal that was on the table for him. It was close, but I was told it wasn't the biggest offer that was pitched. And there were a bunch of other teams in the mix. Detroit only wanted to give him 3 years. Calgary tried their best and made a very big offer to him, but he didn't want to go to Calgary. Turned down a number of other teams along the process, too. And it came down to those final 4 teams. The Canadians were in the mix, but at the end of the day, he decided that Philadelphia was best for him.
In terms of anyone else the Canadians may be going after, what are you hearing?
Well, there's Danny Briere. There's
really? It really is. This isn't a media thing. This is actually this has some meat on the bone.
Yeah, they've spoken with Briere's camp. I chatted with Pat Brisson, Briere's agent, earlier today, and he was telling me that they've narrowed down their list of teams, and they continue to speak to them today. They're going to speak to them again tomorrow and some of the other teams tomorrow, and probably have, I would imagine, a deal in place at some point tomorrow. But the Canadians are one of the teams that's in the mix. Now, there are a few others, but the Habs are one of them. And then it's really going to come down to beginning of free agency. Do they want to dish out money for a guy like David Clarkson? Do they want to dish out money for a guy like, dare I say, a Nathan Horton? I don't think Horton, because of his trouble, and he'll probably end up getting $6 million. I can't see the Canadians doing that. I think the Habs are going to be a little more active on the trade front, more than anything. They were over the last week and over the weekend at the draft. And I anticipate that kind of picking up over the course of the week, along with a number of other teams, because, in about 7 minutes time, teams can start talking to free agents. They can't sign them officially till noon on Friday, but they can start talking to them as of 12:01 Wednesday, which is about 6-7 minutes from now. And once teams make deals with their guys or reach agreements with certain players, then they come off the market. Other teams are going to start looking to replace them via the trade route. And I've talked to a number of GMs about that over the draft, and they all anticipate that being the case.
Dave, how confused are you with the Vancouver situation? Obviously, them trading Corey Schneider on Sunday. Roberto Luongo is now the number 1 goaltender. If you're Mike Gillis and you're part of the Aquilani family, how do you smooth over the relations with Luongo, who thought he was not going to be a Canuck come October?
There are 2 teams in the NHL where I have no bleeping idea what they're doing on a management side of things, and that's Philadelphia and Vancouver. I don't get it. From Philly's perspective, I don't entirely understand the Lecavalier signing based on all the other things that they still need to do within that organization and on that roster. And from Vancouver's standpoint, I don't have a problem with the fact that they traded one of the 2 goalies for the 9th overall pick. And, they traded the younger guy, whom I don't think is going to be better overall than Roberto Luongo anyway. but still a very good number one goalie. I don't have a problem with the fact that they made the trade, and I think it's a great trade for New Jersey at the same time. I have a problem with the fact that they didn't tell Roberto Luongo ahead of time, even 20 minutes before they announced the trade. They could have just called him up as a courtesy and say, hey, we got to talk about this later, but we just couldn't come to terms on a deal. We weren't able to trade you. We're going to trade Corey instead. You're our guy, and let that sink in, and we'll talk in a bit. That didn't happen. Same deal with Corey Schneider. Didn't even call him before the trade. They both heard about it watching TV. I just think the whole process that they went through towards that end is just completely disrespectful and poor management skills on their part. Sadly, I'm not surprised.
Well, on that note, he is Dave Pagnotta. Check out the Fourth Period on Twitter.com. Again, Dave's always got some nuggets coming down from what he's hearing out there, and also www.thefourthperiod.com.